And we're live. Live! Exclamation mark. Let's see. Excellent connection. Stream health looks good. Cool, cool. Okay. So today we're on the 9th brew with these beans over here. The bag is getting really empty. So today and tomorrow is probably our last brews. And even though we made changes to the recipe yesterday, I'm actually gonna try the same recipe that I tried yesterday again today, but with a quicker filter. So I was talking to David in the comments section after the fact, and he said that it would be interesting to try it with a quicker filter to see if we can make the lower brewing ratios work. And I think that that's what we're gonna try here. Like, having one bad cup is not enough for us to warrant jumping back to the higher brewing ratios. So we're gonna give the same recipe a whirl with the quicker fabric filter. So all of these changes that we made yesterday, ignore. We're gonna go with the same one. So we're using a 1:8 brewing ratio, 30 grams of coffee, 240 grams of water, 85 degrees Celsius water temp, and a grind size of 37. Let's change our extraction and taste thingy. Clean that up. Yo, Henry, what's up? How's it going? Like so. And we are ready. Well, hopefully the coffee is delicious this time around. You never know. So let's go into the brew cam mode, like so. I'll put this up like so. And let's begin. Measure out your beans, 30 grams. Like so. Got our coffee. And grind it. Like so. $30 grams. Get our boiling water. And lower the temperature down to 85 degrees Celsius. Red 90. Close. 86 right now. Preheat. Like so. Toss out the water. Toss on the grinds. Like so. And let's begin the brew. So we're gonna pour around 70 grams for the bloom because it's a pretty big coffee bed, and then we'll let it do its bloom, and then we'll pour up to 120-ish grams of water for the first pour, and then we'll pour the remaining amount up to 240. So let's begin. Like so. Pour in the center. Oh, some big bubbles happening. I can tell that the coffee bed is expanding way better this time around. 130. And now go in a circle. There we go, 240. Yeah, right now it's at 81 degrees Celsius, the water in the kettle. So it went down 4 degrees. And remove. Give that a stir. And there we have it. Attempt number 2 at the 1:8 brewing ratio. So I just want to look at the coffee beds. So I kept my other one from yesterday. And I'm going to compare it to this one today. So I could actually tell that today's was way more dome shaped. And it is probably because of the flow rate being a bit more quicker, allowing liquid to circulate within the coffee bed a bit more, creating that dome shape. So yesterday, I noticed when I was pouring that the liquid wasn't even penetrating the center area, and it wasn't really like puffing up the sides of the coffee bed as much as this one over here. So like, even though it was a quicker drawdown, which would mean a more like quicker extraction, like more extraction, or like a lack of extraction actually, this will probably be more balanced. That's my guess. Preemptive guess. Because yesterday, with this coffee bed, my guess is that only the center grinds were getting extracted and all of the outside grinds were being ignored because of the clogginess of the bed. And I'm gonna take a photo side by side of these and like post it on YouTube, but my guess is that yet again this will be a more balanced extraction because of the way that the liquid interacted with the coffee bed. Yeah, let's give it a taste. So it still has a pretty big intensity to it, but the dryness that I had yesterday is not that overwhelming in my mouth. So it's more about the bitterness from the roast level itself and not bitterness from the over extraction. So what's happening here is that this cup is actually more balanced compared to yesterday's, because yesterday's was so over extracted. And the intensity here is pretty strong, as in I can taste a lot of the roast level like bitterness in this cup of coffee, and it's probably not my cup of coffee or cup of tea, but I think maybe with the dash of water we can open it up and hopefully get it to breathe a bit. So I'm gonna add a dash of water here. Five grams. Yeah, Henry, it was more intense, and intense in a good way. So it wasn't intense as in a lot of over extracted, harsh, intense qualities. It's more about the roast level bitterness that I would expect from a dark roast in this cup of coffee, and that type of intensity. Okay, 5 grams, dash of water. Yeah, I like it much better with a dash of water. Maybe because it cuts down the that intensity, that bitter intensity. And the thing is, like, a lot of people prefer and like that intensity. It's kind of like why you enjoy espresso and mocha pots too. You want that thick, viscous liquid that has a lot of punch and intensity. But for me, I personally prefer something a bit more lighter in body, not as intense, but more like tasting notes to latch onto. So I would say it's still pretty bitter, but yet again bitter because of the roast level and not because of the extraction. And the way that I can tell the difference here is that if it was from the extraction, it's just really harsh and harsh and intrusive and a bad bitter taste. while this is a bit more of a pleasant bitter taste that's not as harming in my mouth. Like, it doesn't really make my whole mouth full, raspy, and dry. This is more about the lingering bitterness in there that is more pleasant than that. So yeah, it's still a bit too intense for me, but I could see a lot of people actually enjoying this cup of coffee. Mm-hmm. I want to add another dash of water. Let's add just 4 grams this time. Like so. Yeah, it's all about personal preference. What you like, what you enjoy. Just brew more of that. So with the extra dash of water, it got even more mellow. So the intensity is not there anymore. How does it compare to the 1 to 10 with and without a dash of water? I would say this cup is worse than the 1 to 10. It's also probably worse than the 1 to 12 we did earlier too. And it's because of the harshness, like the intensity of the bitterness is not, in my opinion, a positive quality in this cup, because it was so much better when it was a bit more mellow with the higher brewing ratios. Like, I felt like the bitterness and the roast level flavors of like smoky, rich, slightly charged, like those qualities were a bit more pleasant in the higher brewing ratios, while in this 1 to 8 cup it's really just like, it hits you like a truck in your face. And I know some people who enjoy that type of a cup experience, but for me it's just a bit too overwhelming. So I would say that, in my opinion, the 1 to 8 cup of coffee is not as good as the higher brewing ratios that we did earlier on in our journey with this bag of beans. Yeah, and even though I like it better with the 2 dashes of water, it now is getting a bigger dryness to it. A dryness that you can usually get from just drinking like slight minerally water. So suddenly other elements are coming into the cup that aren't really pleasing either. So even though the intensity is down, which I enjoy, it now has this other lingering taste in your mouth that is just slightly drying. Not as dry as like a harshly over extracted cup of coffee, but just like a slight dryness, you know? So overall, I think that if you really like a intense, like bitterness that hits you like a truck, then the 1 to 8 brewing ratio is great. But for my personal preferences, I actually enjoy the lighter, more nuanced cups of coffee with even dark roasts, because you can start picking out a lot of the different qualities and tastes of that richness and that smokiness and that molasses taste in the cup of coffee, instead of just being overwhelmed by like the intensity of it. But I think that that was a good test. So looking at the coffee beds right now, like what? Here, look at this over here. So this one was yesterday's. It hardly got the dome shape, and it's now looking like it didn't even get like a big like dimple or anything. Kind of sad. And I didn't even notice that many bubbles yesterday too, so it didn't have enough time to degas. So I think there was something about how the filter had a slow flow rate, and that wasn't really working with the big dose, with the low brewing ratio, and with the osmotic flow. So I don't think I'm ever going to use this filter again with the osmotic flow technique, because obviously over here I'm consistently getting something that's a bit more reasonable and like within range of the osmotic flow technique, and it really is because of the flow rate that the fabric filter provides. So I think it's really fascinating how a filter can make such a big difference in your cup of coffee, even for extraction and the way a technique is performed. Really fascinating. Ta-da. So I've been doing a lot of writing lately because I've been trying to get a lot of the videos that I've made up onto my blog as blog posts, and it's quite the struggle. I gotta tell you that. Like, I'm not the best of writers, but I think I'm getting there, and I think it's a great way to diversify myself and get my coffee content onto different platforms and stuff, and just get a small space for myself where I can keep things just in case YouTube like goes under, just like how Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram did the other day. gotta protect yourself, gotta diversify those assets. I'm gonna add another dash of water, just a small one, just to see. But I think down the road, the website will be a great place to quickly scan through a lot of the content, and also be a place where I can keep on updating things. So for example, with my first video ever, the video on brewing ratios, I now have way more like insight on how I want to talk about that topic. So in the blog post, for example, I'm writing just way more content there that is relevant. So it's for sure not just a copy paste or anything, but it's more about a place where I can consistently update and keep something fresh and new. Yeah, didn't turn any better. I think probably the first dash of water was where it was the best, and then every other dash of water after, so the 2 dashes, just made it a bit more boring. That intensity was what made this cup fun and delicious to begin with, and even though it wasn't my personal preference type of cup, I think that the intensity that I was trying to cut down was also the only highlight of this cup of coffee over here. So I just gotta enjoy it for what it is, and that is totally fine too. Okay, so I hope you have a great day. I'm just gonna get writing, like write more videos into blog posts and create that repertoire of content on there. But I also have another video in the pipelines on how to get someone into coffee. So you know when you're the coffee friend of the group and someone asks you like, how would I get into coffee, Paul? Well, I feel like there's a lot of ways to approach that question, and in this next video I'm gonna try to break down the ways that I've found a lot of success and think people should approach that topic and reel new coffee people into the hobby. So that is the next video that I'm gonna do. Probably also a coffee chat within before that, but still, yeah. That's the one big one that I've been thinking a lot about, because we need more new people in the hobby. Always. Okay, so everyone, have a great day. Enjoy it to the fullest. Take care, everyone. Enjoy your coffee. Your coffees. Yeah. Okay. See ya. And